Welcome din sa diocese naming pagtitipon, pagpupulong-pulong. Welcome din sa diocese namin kasi at least through this Zoom, we can be connected, no? Nagpapasalamat po ako sa Laiko at sa Wigen kasi nagkaroon ako ng opportunity na to have this conversation with you. So ang tema po na binigay sa akin ay Laudato Si Lifestyles, New Mindsets for Emerging and Alternative Ministries. Yung meron pang sa sulat, meron special na sinabi na pwede kong maaaring masagot. How should the Laudato Si lifestyles and spirituality affect our new way of living, our new way of relating with creation, and new ways of ministering to our fellow Filipinos? So, I hope na ma-achieve natin ito. I will just start the conversation and I hope I'll be able to trigger more enriching ideas and experiences from you. Basically, ang topic na to, although not exclusively kasi recurring naman yung mga topics, but basically galing ang source ko sa chapter 6 ng Laudato Si with the title Ecological Education and Spirituality, numbers 202 to 240. And it speaks directly to the heart of ecological conversion. Sa topic natin, we will talk about Laudato Si lifestyles and also Laudato Si spirituality. But specifically, we will focus on the new mindsets that this document of the Holy Father, which is very monumental, very important, na pinopropose o pinapa-own sa atin lahat. And ano ang magiging mga offshoot dito sa ating in terms of ministries. So, pero tunawain muna natin ang how powerful are the mindsets. Kasi hindi natin nakikita ang mindsets. It's always at the back, behind our action, our decision, our feelings. Bakit we feel this way, we react this way, or respond this way? Kasi sa ating perspective. Mahalaga na makita natin where are we coming from. So the Holy Father, and I will try to highlight some of these important mindsets through direct quotes from the Laudato Si para talaga manamnaman natin yung sinasabi niya, ang ibig niya sabihin. So as an exercise, may nakikita kayong picture. Pwede nyo ba masulat sa chat kung anong nakikita nyo or you want to unmute yourself? Ano bang nakikita nyo dyan sa picture? Pwede kayong mag-thumbs up.
May unggoy
animals.
Unggoy,
tiger.
Tiger.
Unggoy, may tiger.
Birds.
Birds. Fish. Tree.
Kahoy.
So usually, ang malaki yun. Creation din in a way, no? Pero ang tarak pinakita usually na makita is ang punong kahoy. Tapos, at closer look, makita din natin yung nakaharap ang tiger at saka ang unggoy. So, depende sa ating perspective, saan tayo nakafocus, yun ang nakikita natin. Ito naman, ano ba nakikita ninyo? Duck o rabbit?
Way. Duck, but yeah, look. Oh yeah, I can see
Rabbit.
both now. I can see both.
Rabbit.
One after the other. I can see rabbit and I can see duck.
Pareho.
So, pwede makita, can look at it and say rabbit siya, or others can say it's a duck. Pwede tayong mag-away kasi iba-iba yung nakita, pero i-try to go on one side to the other. Sabi nga ng oo nga, it's both. Ito yung pinaka-classic na example. The old lady or the young girl. I don't know kung how many can see the young lady or the old woman. Kasi mostly, ang usual makita ang old woman. Pero ewan ko kung makikita niyo, can you see the young girl?
Yes.
Yes.
With the eyelash and the feather. Yeah.
Yes, with eyelash. Okay. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is a short way of illustrating mindsets. It affects the way we see things. Yes. Thank you. Ito yung sinasabi na paradigm shifts. Kasi ito yung mga mindsets na iba-iba na tumutulong kung anong ating ma-appreciate, anong ating maayaw, we dislike, we own, or we reject, no? And when we talk about ecological conversion, which this is the one that the Holy Father is really praying that we will all experience, we cannot but look into these various mindsets. Sa spiritual growth process, usually we start with awareness. Things are brought to our awareness and we try to name it. The more we are able to name it accurately, then we can own it. And if we can own it, then we can decide what to do about it. So it's always a cycle, no? Awareness, naming, owning, decision. And I will spend some time allowing the Holy Father through Laudato Si to help us name accurately what is our problem, what's happening to our world, what's happening to all of us, what are we doing or failing to do, so that once we are able to name it accurately, then we are able to own and decide what to do with it. So sa 6 chapters kasi ang Laudato Si. Sa una pa lang na chapter, sinabi na ni Holy Father na there will be, although what chapter may specific topic, but there are recurring themes that he will go back again and again, and it is expressed in different ways. Number 1, the intimate relationship between the poor and the fragility of the planet. That is something that is always coming back in all the 6 chapters, and it's important that we have it at the back of our mind. It's part of the mindset. There is that connection, and it is something that I really find inspiring, that the Holy Father helped me see the connection between the two. Then the conviction that everything in the world is connected. He calls this integral ecology. Interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. Then he also will go back again and again to offer a critique to our prevailing paradigm beneath the transaction economic system, political system, cultural system ng ating buhay, no? And forms of power derived from technology. Then he will also constantly call to seek other ways of understanding the economy aside from the prevailing now that is excluding some people, some group of people, and also another way of looking at progress or how to achieve progress. Another theme is the value proper to its creature, that the creature is not its creature or species that we can find in the world is not only valued insofar as it is useful to us, human being, no, but in themselves, in each of them, there is a value proper to its creature. And he will always go back and again and again to the human meaning of ecology. Then he is espousing the need to be forthright and honest in discussing, in dialoguing about the issues regarding the environment. Not just to be motivated by some hidden or personal agenda, but really bring everything in the open, no? the serious responsibility of international and local policy. So the interaction between, it's both local and international or global. And finally, the throwaway culture and the proposal of a new lifestyle. And this is the 6th chapter, of course. No? Now, he started the chapter 6 with this line, and I'm really struck with this. Many things have to change course, but it is human beings above all who need to change. Ba natin yan? Many things have to change course, yes, but it is us human beings above all who need to change. So that's one articulation of the reality of the truth now. And I hope we can own it and accept it. We lack an awareness, according to the Holy Father, of our common origin. Ang laki kasi ng shift, ng pagbabago, the moment we appreciate that we have one common origin, that we lack also awareness of our mutual belonging to each other, our interrelatedness, and also we lack awareness of a future to be shared with everyone. Imagine the shift and the change of behavior, relationship, if we are able to embrace these truths. Now, especially during this time of pandemic, this is a very good na-capture talaga ni Holy Father yung situation natin. Sabi niya, kahit na sinulat niya pa 5 years ago, wala pang COVID, sabi niya, the current global situation engenders a feeling of instability and uncertainty, which in turn becomes a seedbed for collective selfishness. Now we are understanding more and more that why we sometimes see, or maybe oftentimes see in television, collective forms of expressions of selfishness. Kasi the more pala we are subjected to or we are experiencing is instability and uncertainty, the more we are tempted, we succumb to selfishness, not only individually but together. Kaya nag-rush there was a time na naubos lahat ang alcohol sa supermarket o yung mga toilet paper o mga bigas or whatever, no? So when people become self-centered and self-enclosed, their greed increases. Yun pala yun. The emptier a person's heart is, the more he or she needs things to buy, own, and consume. Dito pala nanggagaling ang consumerism. Kasi may coping. Pag empty sa loob ng puso, the tendency is to compensate with amassing things, hoarding. Pero ang ganda kasi the Holy Father is always seeing it from the perspective of God. Kaya optimistic palagi. Kaya sabi niya sa 2:05, yet all is not lost. That's the good news. At ito dapat pang hawakan natin. Human beings, while capable of the worst, are also capable, number 1, of rising above themselves. Dapat i-own natin yan. Talagang we have to claim that. We are capable of rising above ourselves. We are capable of choosing again what is good and making a new start. Capable of rising above ourselves, choosing what is good, and starting anew, despite our mental and social conditioning. So we are not losing hope. We are not giving up on each other. We are able to take an honest look at ourselves. May kakayahan daw tayo noon. Number 2, to acknowledge our deep dissatisfaction. And number 3, and to embark on new paths to authentic freedom. Kaya natin to. Sabi niya, nag-insist siya, no system can completely suppress our openness to what is good, true, and beautiful, or our God-given ability to respond to His grace at work deep in our hearts. Grabe, no? Ang ganda niya. Sana hindi natin makalimutan. Yun ang sabi niya, I appeal to everyone throughout the world not to forget this dignity which is ours, and no one has the right to take it from us. Ang ganda. That's the good news. Now, sabi niya, because of the precarious state of our common home, of our environment, today, there is a demand that we be courageous to choose radically new lifestyles which are countercultural. We need to go against parent. But for us to go against this, we know we have to name accurately ano yun. Ano yung dominant culture that we have to go against. Kaya inarticulate niya rin yon. Ang isa sa pinaka-iniinan niya, in-emphasize niya, is to reject, grabe ang mga description, no? Adjective, compulsive, wasteful, and excessive consumerism. At alam na natin kung saan nanggagaling yung consumerism na yan. No? So we need to reject that. In our lifestyle, dapat it is an antidote, a rejection of compulsive, wasteful, and excessive consumerism. Reminding all, sabi niya, that purchasing, ang pagbili, is always a moral and not simply economic act. At itong nawawala ngayon sa society natin, people don't think of morality anymore. Sabi pa nga ng isang tao sa discussion sa webinar, comment niya sa Facebook, morality daw is subjective. So depende na yan sa tao kung ano yung right, anong wrong, anong just, anong unjust. So imagine, nakakalungkot, no? Pero kahit pag mag-decide tayo bumili o hindi bumili, it's a moral act. May value yan. Diyan natin pinapakita kung naniniwala tayo sa Diyos, mahal natin ang Diyos, mahal din natin ang ating kapwa, or we take care of our common home or the natural world. Mismo sa ating mga desisyon, kung ano ang binibili, how often tayo bumibili, at ano karami. A change in lifestyle, sabi ni Pope, could bring healthy pressure to bear on those who wield political, economic, and social power. Meron tayong power na dapat natin magamit para mabago ang situation. This is what consumer movements accomplish by boycotting certain products. And later on, I will give an example on this. It can be very powerful. Ito yung area na kung minsan hindi tayo conscious, may kakayanan tayong to put pressure on them. Wala nga tayong pera, wala tayong yaman, pero together as consumer, we that don't only have the right, but the responsibility to oppose, to make our decision. Disinterested concern for others and the rejection of every form of self-centeredness and self-absorption are essential if we truly wish to care for our brothers and sisters, and not only human beings, but for the natural environment. Dati, before sa Laudato Si, brothers and sisters lang yan. Pero ngayon, we have to be more accustomed, and we need to really intentionally bear in mind that we are not only to take care of human beings, but everybody, everything in the natural environment. Because as he said earlier, everyone has their own inherent value. No? So pero if we want to care for the environment, dapat disinterested concern. Walang hidden agenda, dapat walang self-centeredness or self-absorption. These attitudes also attune us to the moral imperative of assessing the impact of every action that we do and personal decision on the world around us. Yun na nga, whatever we do or fail to do, will have a moral impact and we have a moral responsibility. Kaya in this chapter sa 6, he was really pointing out the two important tools, parang ways for us to soar high in caring for our common home. Environmental education on one hand and spirituality on the other hand. So this will be a topic basically. So sabi niya, ang environmental education kasama dito, hindi lang ang tungkol sa mga risk ng climate change, hindi lang tungkol sa mga mga anong nangyayari sa environment, but it also includes a critique of the myths of modernity grounded in a utilitarian mindset. Kaya Laudato Si lifestyle and mindset is in contraposition sa utilitarian mindset na valuable ka lang kung you meet my need, kung may kailangan ako sa iyo. Kung wala, edi sorry, no? Individualism, unlimited progress, competition, consumerism, and the unregulated market. Di bali na masira ang environment, di bali na maraming magkakasakit. Basta first profit, bago ang people and planet. So dapat planet, people, profit. Pero binabaliktad palagi. It seeks also to restore the various levels of ecological equilibrium, establishing harmony, at ang ganda ng pag-articulate niya. Ano bang mga relationships na importante mawasto natin? Harmony within ourselves, with others, with nature and other living creatures, and with God. Ito yung ethics of ecology, sabi ni Pope Francis, according to him. So, palaging may triple relationship tayo. Ako with others, fellow human beings, with nature and other living creatures, and with God. Now, in Laudato Si number 211, he enumerated some examples of loving actions that will express our care for our common home. What are these? Avoiding the use of plastic and paper. Water consumption. Halimbawa, if you notice sa television, yung mag-demonstrate sila ng washing ng hands, no? Na-notice nyo siguro yan. Patuloy lang yung ng tubig. So wasteful yun. We have to conserve water, no? Kahit maghugas tayo palagi, we have to conserve, no? So separating refuse, segregation, cooking only what we can reasonably be consumed, showing care for other living beings, no? The kind of animals, carpooling, no? Trying to grow trees, turning off unnecessary lights, reusing or recycling something instead of immediately discarding them. Praying grace before and after meals can also be an ecological expression of our love, no? And being completely present to everyone and to everything. Yung sa mga Oriental religious brothers natin, yung mindfulness, no? Being present to everyone and everything. Ang ganda, no? Tapos sabi niya, even aesthetics, yun, and I find this striking, no? And I think we are losing this because we're so consumed with all the materialistic pursuits and pursuits for pleasure, we never get to learn to see and appreciate the beauty around us. In a way, blessing in disguise sa pandemic, I hope some of us were able now to smell the roses, no? We learn to reject self-interested pragmatism by appreciating beauty. Kasi appreciating beauty and art, for example, is a very contemplative stance. No? If someone has not learned to stop and admire something beautiful, we should not be surprised if he or she treats everything as an object to be used and abused without school. Yan, tandaan natin yan. Spirituality naman, according to him, he is quoting what he wrote in Evangelii Gaudium, is an interior impulse which encourages, motivates, nourishes, and gives meaning to both our individual and communal activity. Whatever encourages, motivates, nourishes, and give meaning from within to our individual and communal activity, that's how we would describe spirituality. Now, he quoted Pope Benedict XVI, his predecessor, when he gave this homily in his inaugural address. And he made this comment, no, the external deserts in the world are growing because the internal deserts have become so vast. So the desert all around us that we find, not just literally, no, physically, but morally, spiritually, socially, no, the deserts around us is but a reflection of the internal desert that is going on inside each of us. So for this reason, the ecological crisis is also a summon to profound interior conversion, because the ecological crisis is but an expression of also a crisis from within. Living our vocation to be protectors of God's handiwork is essential to a life of virtue, to a spirituality. And according to the Holy Father, which I believe we all agree, it is not an optional or a secondary aspect of our Christian experience. It is integral to our life of virtue, to a life of holiness, that we take care of God's handiwork. The ecological conversion needed to bring about lasting change is also a community conversion. So there's also a need, aside from personal conversion, a community conversion, and even institutional conversion. The church as institution, the government as an institution, and any other institutions. And he speaks about gratitude and gratuitousness. And it is based on a recognition that the world is God's loving gift, and that we are called quietly to imitate his generosity in self-sacrifice and good works. So usually, what we do is simply respond. The initiative is always from God. Everything around us is a reflection. All the goodness, the beauty is but a reflection of God's loving gift to us and his immense love for us. But we are also being invited by that to all respond, no? So sana nga magiging lifestyle sa ating simbahan. Hindi na kailangan ng pandemic para ma-realize natin na hindi lang tayo pagsimba magbigay sa kolekta o mag-support sa kailangan ng simbahan o ano, no? But really, to give something from what we receive is but a spontaneous response to an experience of how good the Lord is. No? Gratitude and gratuitousness is a recognition that that we are called quietly to imitate his generosity and good works, but it also entails a loving awareness that we are not disconnected from the rest of creatures, but join in a splendid universal communion. Ito na nga, we are part of nature. Hindi tayo iba, no? Hindi tayo separate. In fact, before we came, nature is already there, nauna. And that it's more that we need nature more than nature needs us, no? So that sense of gratitude is being one with the rest of creation. That's why pag maka-experience tayo ng flow experience, psychological or religious experience or spiritual experience, we feel the connection, we sense of oneness with everyone and everything around us, di ba? So our faith offers us the awareness that each creature reflects something of God and has a message to convey to us, and the security that Christ has taken unto himself this material world, and now reason is intimately present to each being, surrounding it with his affection and penetrating it with his light. Yung incarnational spirituality. No? So, every creature reflects something of God. So imagine ko yun ang ating mindset, no? Wherever we look, wherever we go, we find always a reflection of God. Kasi sabi nga ni Pope Francis, word niya rin ginamit is, the whole of creation is the caress of God. It's a revelation of the divine. No? Our faith offers us the recognition that God created the world, writing into it an order and mechanism that human beings have no right to ignore. You know, this is one form of humility, to just acknowledge that my natural law, my inherent order and dynamism there that we need to respect, and we don't have no right at all either to ignore or alter it or make a mess out of it. No? Laudato Si spirituality is a prophetic and contemplative lifestyle, one capable of deep enjoyment, free of the obsession with consumption. So, makikita natin yan pag na-develop natin itong Laudato Si spirituality. Ang unang indicator dyan, hindi tayo obsessed to consume and buy a lot of things more than we need. It is the conviction, at itong nagustuhan ko talaga, it is the conviction that less is more. So pwede nating sabihin ang Laudato Si spirituality and lifestyle is summarized in this: less is more. Laudato Si 222. Madali tandaan. 222. Less is more. Sobriety, ito rin ang another expression niya aside from gratitude. That simplicity which allows us, number one, to stop and appreciate the small things, to be grateful for the opportunities which life affords us, to be spiritually detached from what we possess, and not to succumb to sadness for what we lack. Ang ganda na is parang anchor natin to. Appreciate small things. Be grateful for opportunities that life gives us. Be spiritually detached for whatever we have or given to us, and not to be sad for what we lack. This implies avoiding the dynamic of dominion and the mere accumulation of pleasures, which is the culprit of all the destruction around us. Yung domination, dominion, no? Kasi imbes na sa simula yung mga ancestors natin, they have this relationship of kinship. Then, but with industrial revolution, we start to subdue and we consider ourselves the master. We can do whatever we want at whatever cost or price, whatever the consequences to everybody, to everyone, and everything around us. And then that's the beginning of ecological degradation. Now, in the remaining time, how should the Laudato Si lifestyle and spirituality that I just described using the very words of Pope Francis affect our new way of living, new way of relating with creation, and new ways of ministering to our fellow Filipinos? Ang una is to restore or to reawaken our right relationship with creation. Ito yung antidote sa problema na identify ni Pope Francis na modern anthropocentrism. Yung considering ourselves as we are master and we can do whatever we want, regardless kung anong consequence niyan. For many centuries, ganun ang mindset. And somehow, mea culpa, ang simbahan mismo naging kabahagi nun sa pag-popularize ng ganung mentality, no? Misunderstanding ng tinuturo ng Panginoon. Pero original yan sa ating mga katutubo, no? Mga ancestors, indigenous people, yung affinity with the rest of God's creation. So we have to re-establish this right relation with everyone. And that can be captured by one term, kinship. No? Kaya makasabi si St. Francis, brother sun, sister moon, sister death. No? At yung sa amin sa diocese, sa aming battle cry is the adoption of the African word, Ubuntu. I am because we are. How can one be happy when the others are sad? Ang sakit ng kalingkingan ay dama ng buong katawan. So ganong connectedness, no? Na hindi pwede na isang sector lang ang masaya, ang karamihan may sakit o hindi masaya. So we have to feel for everybody. Ito yung nagandahan kong illustration, no? Nakita nyo sa first part ng picture dyan sa screen, yung ABC, iba-iba silang height, equal nga ang kanilang pinapatungan, pero deprived pa rin si C. Hindi makakita ng laro. Pero sana with the Laudato Si spirituality and lifestyle, ito yung mangyari. Yung si A, i-share na yung kanyang pinapatungan para si C, ikpantay na kay B at sa kay A. So ito sana yung sense of communion, no? Na mangyari sa atin. Human beings too are creatures of this world, sabi ni Pope Francis, enjoying a right to life and happiness, and endowed with unique dignity. So we cannot fail to consider the effects on people's lives of environmental deterioration, current models of development, and the throwaway culture. Kaya sabi niya sa kanyang sulat, 5 areas of concern, major areas of concern na pwedeng maging batayan ng ating mga bagong ministries if ever wala pa tayong ministry doon. Una, in the area of pollution. This includes the issue and waste and throwaway culture. Ang climate change, no? Halimbawa nang pumutok si Taal, no? Kasi sabi natin yung asphalt doon is very toxic. Kaya kailangan mag-wear mask. Maraming nagbibigay ng free mask at that time. Dress rehearsal pala yun sa COVID, no? Pero alam natin na all year round, yung mga communities living near the coal-fired power plants are inhaling even more toxic asphalts, more toxic than Taal ash. The whole year round yan. At nang nagdialog ako kay Secretary Simato, inamin niya talaga yan. So kaya sana hindi lang magiging maging concern tayo sa air quality and protecting the air sa paligid natin. Then the issue of water, yung right to water, lalo na ng mga poor people. Loss of biodiversity, ito, I was struck, no? How many of us, pag mag-report na Typhoon Ambo, ang report usually ilang bahay ang nasira, ilan ang namatay, but hindi natin ina-account how many losses of biodiversity. Ilang mga species din na hindi natin nakikita ang na-damage o na-destroy. We are not sensitive, no? Decline in the quality of human life and the breakdown of society. Dito yung mga issue ng HK, limbawa, no? So, and then the global inequality. So, sabi nga, we have to think globally but act locally. Kaya dapat itong mga 5 major issues nasa atin na yan, how do we respond to this to the various ministries in our own dioceses or in our own respective parishes. So pwede nating itanong, how are the kailangan kasi ng research ito, kailangan talaga ng data. Dati we take it for granted, generalize lang. Pero mas maganda, iba ang impact pala as we experienced it here in San Carlos pag we are really aware of the data locally in terms of pollution, in terms of climate change. Ano bang impact sa amin dito? Sa water issue, loss of biodiversity. Sabi nga ni Father Sean McDonagh, dapat may requiem tayo for the loss of biodiversity. We mourn only for people who died, no? But do we mourn for the losses of diversity in our forest, in our ocean, in our seas, no, around us? Parang hindi tayo pa sensitive doon. Kailangan pa yung awareness pa ating ka rin, no? Yung sa Laudato Si number 42, Pope Francis says, we need to undertake a careful inventory of the species which it hosts with a view of developing programs and strategies of protection with particular for safeguarding species towards extinction. So halimbawa, sabihin natin, sige, tumbahin na lang yung mga kahoy dyan sa forest reserve kasi progress, kailangan gumawa ng daan without really considering na habitat yan ng ilang mga endemic na mga species. Ano yung nawawala? Walang research, walang study, walang inventory. Mag-magnetite mining tayo dyan. For the one, nako, yun ang issue din namin dito. So, sabi nila magbibigayan ng taxes ng maraming livelihood, pero at what cost sa ating environment? So yung ganon, no? What are the particular manifestations of decline in the quality of human life in our own locality? And what are the expressions or signs of breakdown in society? Maganda rin sana yan, no? In every diocese, may talagang true picture tayo. Yung ministry natin ay mas responsive. And what is the state of inequality in our own locality? Like in Negros Island or in my diocese, anong itsura nun? So iba talaga pag may data, no? Kaya sa palagay ko, because of this, we need to have talaga in every diocese a research and documentation ministry na ng mga database na pala nag-update. Along with the pandemic, kailangan i-reach out yung sino yung poorest of the poor. Pag wala kang database, kakapaka kung sino ang tulungan mo. Sino yung yung mga talents, mga gifts within the So kailangan itong database. At nakita natin during this time, social communications ministry is very important din para ma-communicate itong mga data for people to be conscientized, ma-convert, no? And then sabi nga natin sa Ecology Desk, kailangan natin bawat diocese, Pisipito pa to, 1991 pa, every diocese should have an Ecology Desk that is functioning, may budget, no, nagtatrabaho. And then dahil kayo nga is although ang spirituality is not equated with religiosity, pero may value pa rin yung piety at saka yung liturgy natin is very important, very close to us. Kaya importante din yung liturgy natin is celebratory of our experience, is reflective, expressive of our experience and what God wants us to experience. Kaya we have to have people who are trained to design liturgies that are meaningful and relevant, that would translate the beautiful principles, concepts, mindsets, values ng Laudato Si into our liturgy. Kasi sabi nga ni Father Sean, parang spiritual schizophrenic tayo kasi ang ganda ng sinusulat natin sa Laudato Si, but it is not found in our liturgy. So yun ang challenge sa atin. Anyway, I will just go through this na kasi I'm running out of time. Issue na tayo ng pastoral letter ABC, meet actions plan, action points doon. Gusto ko lang i-highlight na meron na tayong eco-convergence hubs sa bawat region. So, nila Dito yung nagko-converge ang lahat ng mga grupo movements para we can put our acts together and we can be on the same page. Magtulungan tayo sa area na yon. Pag-share tayo ng mga information. Eco-convergence hubs. At ito yung celebration ng Season of Creation. Ginawa na namin na institution yan. Every year kasama na yan sa calendar. Tapos yung rights of nature, pinasa na rin for people, for youth and children. And ang importante dito yung divest from coal. We have to really ask ourselves, where are we putting our money? Where are we getting our profits from? Is it from means that destroy the environment? So magiging inconsistent tayo, mawawalan tayo ng moral integrity, no? And then yung pag-promote ng renewable energy as an alternative to dirty coal. So anyway, ito yung mga ministry na natin, Ecology Desk, Eco-Convergence Hub, Green Team, sa bawat parokya, ito yung in charge sa Laudato. Make sure na energy efficient tayo. There was a time nagpaplano kami, pero ngayon hindi pa namin na-postro na bawat parish, talaga magkaroon ng audit, no? At i-declare kung ang parish ba is Laudato Si parish kasi it conforms all the this criteria ng based on Laudato Si. Yung schools din natin, yung mga parochial schools, religious schools, living Laudato Si schools, meron din tayong program na ganyan, no? Tapos ito, sample lang to in terms of sachet, no? Kasi may na-found out na 60 billion sachet are being used yearly in the Philippines and it pollutes and clogs our waterways, no? Like Manila Bay. And we rank third in the world. Pero kasi naman, ang poor, hindi naman makabili ng mga kaya sachet lang. So dapat maghanap tayo ng alternative lifestyle talaga. Na ano bang alternative natin sa mga sachet? Ang laki ng impact sa environment hindi pwede sa kape, sa mga iniinom, sa mga shampoo and all, no? So dapat dito sa Negros, meron kaming store na tinatawag walang usik. Parang walang nasayang. Kasi doon pwede ka magpa-refill. Magdala ka lang ng yung sisidlan mo for soap, for So yung mga ganon, we have to keep pushing ourselves to find alternative ways para ma-address itong problema sa polluting the ocean. Kasi carbon sink natin yan. Mabilisan na lang to, no? Ito yung mga culprit. Baka sinusupport natin yan. Pwede tayong mag-boycott sa kanila to make them feel na you better come up with something else as an alternative. Kasi hindi pwede na yan, no? So sa amin, no to coal, yes to renewable energy, isa din yung area, no? Sabihin lang, 97% sa Negros na produce from renewable. Pero ang irony of it all, kasi if we produce 97% renewable, we're buying 70% from coal. Kasi ang aming mga cooperatives naka-contract na sa kanila 20 years ago, 25 years ago to get from coal because of our own system. Iba yung generation, iba yung distribution, iba din yung ano pa yung isa. So kaya ngayon I would like just to say as consumer, meron na tayong law na we can tell the cooperative, I want my energy supply to come from clean energy, renewable energy. Pwede na tayo mag-demand. Kaya lang hindi natin na-exercise pa yan. Kaya importante ito yung consumers movement. Nanalo na tayo sa DOE, sampa tayo ng kaso sa DNR, sa Supreme Court, nanalo na yan. Ito yung mga laws na implementing laws na nilabi at sayang we are not familiar with this kaya hindi natin talaga na maximize ito. Pero yun, isa yan. May say tayo as consumer where our energy should come from. Ang presidente mismo last year, sabi niya, sinabihan niya talaga yung DOE Secretary, fast-track si Kusi. Fast-track the development of renewable energy sources and reduce dependence on the traditional energy sources such as coal. Hindi pa yan na ma-match. Kailangan talaga bantayan natin yan. Meron tayong Green Energy Tariff Program na we have no more time to discuss. Written competition and open access. Pero as pwede talaga tayong makisang dito as consumers. Ito na yung ating mga success story sana. Pero I don't have time to explain. Tapos, dito lang sa Negros, I will end with this. Protest is to act. The best protest is to act. With Regent, sila ngayon ang nagsusponsor. Yung 4 na obispo sa 4 na dioceses here in Negros nag-agree to really offer an alternative, to walk the talk. No? So nagkaroon na ng assessment, initial assessment, just using the roofs of the houses in our own dioceses. Ito yung na-access na mag-generate namin na energy. And through renewable energy, we can produce 215,897 kilowatt power. No? So what I'm trying to say is this is one example of ecological action na hiningi ni Pope Francis. So sorry, I'm running out of my time. I'll have to end here. This is the beauty of our diocese. I hope we can preserve this. This is in Canlaon and in Don Salvador Benedicto. I hope we will not allow our present government or anyone to destroy the beauty of our surroundings. No? Salamat po. Welcome.